Ali here from Click Music. You're watching World Music Views.
So Ali, Niaz, welcome to World Music Views, boss, and welcome back to Jamaica.
Appreciate the welcome, man. Great to be here.
So, how long you been in the music industry and where you from?
Well, I'm based out in the UK. I've been in the music industry about 6-7 years, and yeah, it's been great, man. In terms of the dancehall space, I've been here for about 3.5 years in totality.
What's interesting about Jamaica? Why you keep coming back? Why you keep finding talent here?
To be honest with you, obviously, I'm a supporter of Jamaican culture, Jamaican dancehall music. I've been coming here on holidays for years. The mother of my children has a Jamaican heritage, so this is a place that we've always come and visited with our children, and obviously being a fan of the culture and then getting into the music business, I just thought it was a great way to connect the two dots and for me to kind of highlight what's going on in Jamaica talent-wise on the international scale, as well as do something I'm passionate about.
So you recently helped dancehall DJ Skillibeng move from obscurity to international dancehall recording artist, signing with RCA, which is a Sony music label. How did you do that? What was the work that you put in to make that happen?
I'll talk about Skilly, but with me and artists, it's very specific. So I get brought in to do specific things, whether it's business management for a specific job or it's management throughout the whole course of their career. And with Skilly, like I said, I came to Jamaica on holiday and saw that Skilly was the hottest thing out, reached out to his team on the ground, connected with them and discussed what their vision and goals was, and went on about trying to execute those goals. So my kind of job is, on that specific role, I came in and started to, number one, shop him around to major labels, because at the time he had obviously the remix with Nicki Minaj out. And for me, as someone who knows the international music space, I was in shock that Skilly hasn't gone clear already. Do you know what I mean? He's got a song on the Billboard charts with Nicki Minaj and he's not in the place that I thought he should be. And again, that goes down to the music business part of it. It's about the paperwork and where the rights are sitting and all of that stuff. So with Skilly, I was brought in specifically by RCA Records to help execute a record deal and execute a live strategy. So I came in, started shopping around, seeing what labels are interested. Then when there was an interest from the labels, that's when the work starts to come in regarding dancehall artists, because a lot of dancehall artists have their rights all over the place. And they've signed this paperwork here or their music sitting here. And in the music business, it's not necessarily about the music, it's about where the rights sit. It's a rights business. So international companies want to invest into something where they know where the rights are and they can access their assets. So it was a process of cleaning up all the paperwork, getting everything right, negotiating with the parties that he'd already been signed to and coming to settlements and being in a position where he could then be forwarded onto RCA. And we did that in a way where we did a license deal through RCA Records, got RCA Records a label deal from Sony as a whole as a label, and then got Skilly a deal with RCA as a license through RCA Records. So it was a win-win for the vision that they came to me and said they wanted to execute. And that's what I came and did. So I'm not necessarily working with Skilly now, because with Skilly it was specific to that. And obviously I'm a fan of Skilly. He's one of the baddest artists that I've ever had the privilege of working with. He's amazing, hence why obviously he's had international success. But yeah, so that's how the Skilly thing came about. And throughout that, even at the moment, why I'm in Jamaica at the moment, is I work with a guy called DJ Pons, and he's an incredible DJ, one of the biggest DJs out of Trinidad, pushing the Trinidad movement. And I actually built that relationship because I took Skilly to Trinidad to shoot the WAP video. And I put the whole process together of that, working with RCA, and executed that. And that kind of allowed me to get introduced to DJ Pons and build a rapport there. And now we work closely together, and I've been traveling the world with him, and we've been doing stuff on an international space, marketing, promo, radio, records. Byron Messiah, he's pushed out heavily, and Byron's recent release with IQ, DJ Pons produced, and we got it distributed out of a UK label. I've just done another big deal for Pons with a company in Canada on his catalog. So we're constantly just working, and with him, I've got a long-term management role. And then going back to some of the other clients I work with at the moment in the dancehall space, Pantherson, he's another person I've just started working with closely. I've got a good relationship there. And again, it's similar to my relationship with Pun, it's at management capacity. But then I also work with YGF Records, and they have Pablo YG on their roster. But that's specific to business management for YGF Records. So, and that's specific to business management for YGF Records. So basically, it's looking after the business management of everything on their roster and whatever music they're dealing with. So again, everything is different. It's not a one box or one tick does everything. Do you know what I mean? It's everything is different, and what the artist's needs are and how I can facilitate. My thing is about trying to make sure the artist understands the business, understands how to capitalize on the art that he's creating and the asset class that he's developed. And music business on the growth is huge. Do you know what I mean? Catalog, like you might see in the international space, big artists are selling their catalog. There's a guaranteed 20% growth on streaming income, guaranteed every year for the next 5 years. Like, you can do the research, all the stats are out there. So if you make a song today and it's worth $1, there's a guarantee in 5 years that's going to be worth $2. So like the Church of England recently invested a huge amount of money into buying catalog music. So the point I'm making to you is investing in music and making sure the paperwork's right is as valuable as having gold, as valuable as having oil in this day and age. So I'd advise all artists to make sure they get their paperwork right, they make sure their business is right, and have everything in place and know where the rights are sitting, because once they want to grow and hit the international market and want international investment, that's going to require for you to have clean rights and for those to be easily delivered over to the major investor or the major company. And just to add to that, obviously with Skilly, I did also bring him over to the UK for his first international shows and executed all of that strategy, which led to him getting signed by Wasserman, the international live agent, who also look after the likes of Drake, J. Cole, and then him being launched into the international live market in North America through him headlining Afro Punk. And as you've recently seen, he's opened up for Drake on his tour. So it's just growth and success, and it keeps on growing.
Did you find that a lot of Jamaican artists don't have their affairs in order when you came to help people?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's the biggest problem here. I'm working with artists in Trinidad. I think it's the same thing across the board from my experience in the Caribbean. A lot of artists don't. And I understand it, because a lot of producers end up owning the rights because they finance the video or something like that, or finance the recording time, which I understand on and it's based around YouTube views, because the dancehall market over here is just so consumed by YouTube views. Whereas if you look at it statistically, YouTube is the lowest paying streaming platform. So really, that's the least most important platform when it comes to growth and generating revenue for your music. So, and not to knock YouTube's amazing. I'm just saying, when it comes to all the other DSPs, they're one of the lowest paying out in terms of streams income per stream. But like I'm saying, like to your question, yes, I think that's a huge problem. And for me, it's just about, if I can educate some people along the way, that's great. I'm always here to assist and guide. And as an organization, we offer distribution, we offer the ability to sell your catalog for advances, for royalty income advances, and you still own the masters. So there's different services that I offer as a company.
How do you value a catalog?
For me, it's based around my partners that I work with. So I work with a company based out in Canada called Snafu, and I also work with a company called Beatbread based out in New York, which are funded by venture capitalists, and they have their own softwares. It goes through algorithms, so it's nothing to do with talent. It's all based on the algorithm and what it's generating. So if the music is generating a certain income, then they times that by a certain number and give you an advance on it. So to give you an example, Beatbread, if you're making $1,000 a month, and that's 12K per annum on streaming income, they will give you an advance 8 times that. So it's just based on, and Snap, we have a different model. So it's just always based around who you're working with.
And that income doesn't have to be streams. It could be sync licensing deals.
No, so the companies I work with on this particular thing is streaming income specifically. So it's based around your sole streaming income, and all your other rights is yours to generate whatever you're generating off. So it's literally off the streaming income, because they're giving you an advance. It's basically an advance based on the income that you're already receiving, and they're just giving it to you up front, so you don't have to wait for it. and then you can do what you want with the money, invest it back into music or whatever you want to do. And the good thing about it is you still own the masters. So after they've recouped, you get back all your music.
Is this why record labels are coming to sign Jamaican acts even without having a Billboard hit?
Yeah, exactly. So personally, if you look at, for me, this is what I believe. I think obviously off the strength of what we was able to achieve when I was working with Skilly and doing the international deal with RCA, and then doing all the live strategy and opening it up to the live international space, I think that made other major labels start to pay more of an interest, because prior to that, I can't recall the last time a major artist in the last decade has crossed over into the international market space. And I think that's solely because the paperwork's not in place. It's not that the music's not hitting, it's because it's just a headache to deal with an artist who you want to sign, but there's just so many problems related to everything surrounding that artist and the assets that he controls and where those assets are sitting, and if he's signed to somebody else, and etc., it's just not clean. So I think that's been the issue. But off the strength of what's occurred with Skilly, I think that's opened up the door for loads of new artists to potentially get signed. As you've seen, obviously, Valiant's recent projects with Epic, TJ signed with Warner's, Massacres over at Def Jam. So everybody's looking at Byron signed over to Interscope, and so everybody's looking over to try and invest. And I would advise all artists that are hot, get your paperwork in place, go get the international bag. You've already got the credibility. Just go and get the international money, because at the end of the day, dancehall is a niche market. It's not a huge market when it comes to global market share. So the fact that everybody's paying attention because of the impact it has globally is huge. So artists should really have their affairs in order to capitalize off of this. A bit like what Afrobeats have done. Do you know what I mean? Afrobeats have come and capitalized off it on a global scale, and a lot of that is to do with the paperwork and the back end. It's not necessarily just the front end. So because that's happened, it's just on a growth trajectory. And I think if dancehall artists start implementing that stuff, I think it's just a win-win.
So you went, got Skillibeng. Protege told me he's no longer signed with RCA, right?
Yeah.
Why you think labels aren't able to follow through with getting these acts big hits?
Again, it's again to do with the surroundings of the artist. So from what I was aware of from the last time I was working with, I'm just using Skilly as an example, obviously RCA are looking to drop his major album, and they want to get a major album out because it's their investment. They want to get a return on their investment. And a lot of times artists don't have everything in place that helps for that to be executed. So for example, and then it goes back to numbers. If things are not getting done quick enough and the momentum is not being leveraged, you have a new artist coming. Music business is a fickle business. I just want to put it out there. Like, it's not, this is a business that the companies are interested in what's hot. Do you know what I mean? So the second you're not hot no more and you're not relevant no more, the next person's coming in. And you see that with what's happening. Do you know what I mean? So as soon as you're hot, I would advise everybody to capitalize, because if you're hot and they're approaching you, if your paperwork's in place, you can easily do a 1 album, 2 album deal and get some life-changing money. And that's amazing for an artist coming from a third world country, do you know what I mean? Or any country per se, but it's even better if it's changing your life and your family's life forever through music.
What kind of money are the labels signing for? Estimate, you don't have to give me the exact figure. 5 figures, 10 figures?
No, it's just dependent. It just depends. Like, look, if you're an artist that's hot and that's doing great stuff, labels are more than happy to throw $500,000 USD for an album with an option for another. Do you know what I mean? If you're a hot property, sometimes that can get pushed to $1 million. Again, it all depends on paperwork. So I've worked with artists where their paperwork isn't correct, so you have to settle with all the third parties, because RCA are not signing no deal if the paperwork isn't clear. Or Sony, or Warner's, or Universal, no major label is. So the paperwork has to be correct. So now you have to settle with all the third parties. And now every time you do that, that reduces your advance. So they've offered you $850. Now you have to pay everybody 120 grand to settle, and you're left with 450, for example. And that's where you're losing out. So if all the affairs are in place, you can easily capitalize, give the label an album, use the machine to market you, and go and get some international live income.
We saw Shensia dropped her album, Coffee dropped her album. Coffee was on RCA too, by the way. Coffee,
From Colombia.
same Sony label,
Yeah,
right?
Sony label, yeah.
She was on RCA first.
Yeah.
Cause John Fleckenstein said
Signed her.
that she won't end her career domestically, she'll end on an international level.
Yeah.
But we haven't heard from Coffee.
Yeah, yeah.
What advice would you give to those artists who are going their second round now? Like a Shensia who's yet to drop her sophomore album, Coffee, sophomore album. Massacre just dropped his album. Person's already looking for a second album. What advice would you give an artist who got the momentum to start and they are going now round two?
My advice is always, obviously, because if you're in that position and it's your sophomore album, you've already got everything. All your business is in the right place, your paperwork's in the right place. Do you know what I mean? You've got a machine financing you and marketing your product. So I think it's about now capitalizing off the international leverage. And I'm just going to go back to using Byron as an example of that, because if you see Byron at the moment, he's got records with Chris Brown, Meek Mill. He's leveraging off of the international access that he's getting, and I think that's very important because that's what then opens up more doors. Chris Brown has a way bigger fan base than a Byron Messiah's got. Do you know what I mean? If tomorrow he is open to that fan base, it allows him to have organic fans all over the world and having growth on that. And that's very important. You want to be an artist that's touring the world with fans that are buying tickets in Iceland, in flipping Norway, in Japan, in Senegal, all over the world.
Yeah. And then they're going on these festivals before building a big core fan base. So Shensia was on Rolling Loud, Coachella, all of these festivals. And these festivals have huge following. Do you advise them to go on festivals or build market by market experience with a core fan base?
I think you have to do it simultaneously. I think you have to do it all the time. I think it's the example that I use is it's like spaghetti. I think Italians use this example a lot. It's like you throw the spaghetti at the wall, whatever sticks will stick. Do you know what I mean? And I think the music business is like that, especially in this day and age. You have to be, as an artist, you're not just a musician. You're a content creator, you're this, you're marketing, you're PR, you're doing everything. And you have to be doing that simultaneously all the time. Because at the end of the day, like I mentioned before, music business is a fickle business. Do you know what I mean? And it's about capitalizing off the moment. So I would, like you mentioned with the Rolling Loud Coachella, I would say do that as well as simultaneously hitting market by market on the ground. Because at that time, and then at the same time leveraging off the collaborations, because then when you do hit a stage like a Coachella, you've got some of your organic foundation built, you've got the leverage of the support of the international artists, as well as the leverage of an international platform like a Coachella, and that all combining together would give you a great output to your audience.
Did you have anything to do with Byron Messiah breaking out with his Talibans?
No, I didn't. That was literally, it was already popping, it was going crazy. In all honesty, Pun sent Byron to me ages ago when he was like, Byron's gonna go. And I was just busy with loads of other stuff because obviously beyond anything I'm doing in dancehall, I've got my own artists in the UK, I've got an artist I represent in New York, and so I'm always working and I'm active. So I was kind of late to picking that up. And then when I got to speaking to Byron's team, they was already far progressed into their deal with Interscope, and they was ready to close their deal. So all I could say is congratulations, because at the end of the day.
So you were coming though.
I was literally on the cuffs of it. Do you know what I mean? And then when I got on the phone call with them, it was like, bro, we're so far gone. We're about to close the deal with Interscope. Whereas I'm a person, my whole thing is just to close. It's like, obviously, access to artists is difficult for major labels as well. And for me, it's about making the major label feel comfortable that they can access the artists, and making the artists feel comfortable that they can access the major label. So I'm like a middle ground. That's what I think my skill set is, because I can fit into the world of the artist, but then I can also fit into what the requirements are of the label to be able to execute this and have a fruitful relationship. So for me, it's like I'm always on the cuff of trying to see what's the next hottest thing. Do you know what I mean? Craft Stream would tell you all the time, I'm always on the phone to them saying, when you lot ready to do an international deal? Because rather than having one label approach you and then you're kind of excited or want to jump on that, my thing is when the label approaches you, call me, because then I will go and shop it around to all the other labels and try and leverage the fact that you've got one label approaching you. Because that's the way this game works. You have one international label approaching you, And now if the other international labels get a win, this label's interested, they're gonna all be interested.
Other than Craft, who should we look for in 2024 to sign a big deal?
On the Jamaican dancehall scene, I would say Craft is doing crazy stuff. Like you just said, other than Craft, I'd say Pablo YG is on the come up. I think he's doing amazing stuff. I think Roger Wild's doing amazing stuff. I think Nadri is doing incredible stuff as well. So I think those four on the ground are making huge waves, do you know what I mean? And then obviously guys like 450 are doing amazing stuff as well. His recent shows in London was flipping sold out shows. I don't personally know what the situation with Skeng is, but I'm sure he's probably done an international deal by now. But yeah, so I think those are kind of the next that I think the international market would be open to it.
You say amazing stuff, but these guys, we do the numbers for world music views. Most of them, they're just charting on Apple Music in the Caribbean. Is that enough chart success? And YouTube, is that enough chart success to get a label's attention?
It's not, but I'm saying sometimes it is and sometimes it's not. But the reality is it's about using that and working it. So it's like now you have that chart in Apple Music in the Caribbean, chart in YouTube in the Caribbean. The labels might not be interested, but YouTube will be interested. So go and partner with YouTube and go do a press or promotion campaign with their UK partners or North American partners, because that will allow you to emerge and penetrate those scenes. Go do a radio and press run with all the dancehall DJs on national radio, not on small radios in the UK or America. I'm talking like national radios, like, so do the Bobby Condas, Hot 97, do the Ras Kwame and on Capital Extra in the UK, the Shane and Marie, you know what I mean? DJs that are pushing dancehall on a national scale in the UK or doing the same in America, and those DJs will be interested that you're doing this in the Caribbean. And one thing I would have to say, I think what you're saying is very important, because you can't penetrate internationally if you haven't got your home on lock. Do you know what I mean? I think that's very important. That validates you being able to do the crossover. So that is important, and that will allow you to put yourself in a position. And like I said earlier on, it's all simultaneous. So it's like, go do the international brand deals, go do the international, because if you're an artist that's generating millions of views and you're wearing Coach, for example, go and approach Coach, present a business case to Coach and say, this is what I'm doing numbers wise in the Caribbean. This is a business. They want to access the market. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying to you. It becomes more than just being a musician, and you have to look at everything that surrounds the artist and how you can capitalize that to help you penetrate into different markets.
That's my last question to you. So more than just the music, name, image, likeness deals are part of how you can help artists to monetize?
Yeah, so I think, again, it goes back to being a hot artist. But once you're a hot artist and your thing's popping, it's about leveraging that. And for me, what I tend to do is work with an artist that's doing good numbers and then put a package together and present a business case to a potential brand and say, this is why you should look at DJ Pons as the next person to partner with, to push your brand out in this market, because this is what he's doing regarding stats. And that's presenting that case. And obviously, a lot of artists might not have the ability to access someone to do that. And of course, that's something that we offer. But beyond that, it's like, I would advise every artist, it's about having a team to do every single aspect of it. Do you know what I mean? Your radio stuff, your brand deal stuff, your live stuff. I think an artist is a whole economy within itself. And the artist needs to realize that when he goes into the music, as much as he loves music and wants to make music, if he wants to pursue a career in the music business, it's basically a mini economy. And growth is going to come by pulling in the right people and leveraging the strength of that, whether it's with different artists or whether it's your back end team, because your back end team is your foundation that's carrying you forward. So yeah, man.